Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
And I'm their friend and guest, Alan Singer.
Dr. Alan Singer, educated historian, is now a regular on Media Watch, and we're happy to have him. And basically, we're doing this early recording because it's the Thanksgiving week and it's going to air the following Monday. So hope all you folks at home enjoyed a great Thanksgiving when you're seeing this. And because we're pre-taping the stuff that we should be talking about, but we're going to stay away from, but more on that later. Being brought to you by EVT Educational Productions, Zoom, and it'll air on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I don't know whether they've caught up with us or we've caught up with them, but their channel 1995 HD and RCN 82 and MNN 33 or 34. But you can find us, folks. Definitely, you'll find us on YouTube, right, Bob?
Yes, it's Channel 1, the community channel. Yes, we're easy to find at 5:30 on Monday, this coming Monday.
But this is going to be a perspective show because we're in this pre-Thanksgiving taping session. And there's a very interesting perspective that's being talked about, noised about all across the media, just because the elephant in the room of the political ethosphere, stratosphere of North America, the United States of America, of course, is the Orange Julius guy. And he's been going off on his rampaging craziness like nonstop. And Alan, you posted a piece on one of your blog posts that I think gets to the heart of why this guy is so troublesome. If you just jump in, give our viewers a background, and we'll discuss it as we go along.
I have to tell you, I'm very nervous. You know, as an historian, as a teacher, and as a Jew, I don't throw around words and accusations of someone as a Nazi or a fascist very lightly. But Donald Trump is now embracing in his anti-immigrant rhetoric and policy proposals positions that embrace Nazi racist ideology dating back to the 1920s and Mein Kampf. And he has crossed the line. He has declared that the greatest enemy facing the United States, and this is a quote, the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. And he pledges he's going to root them out. Now, that idea that somehow the opposition are vermin, that comes straight out of Hitler's rhetoric. The other one that's so offensive is he did an interview and he argued in the interview that undocumented immigrants, and again, this is a quote, were poisoning the blood of our country.
Yeah.
That idea that somehow there are people poisoning the blood of our country, that is the accusation that Adolf Hitler made against Jews and justified the extermination of 6 million people. Mm-hmm. It is also the language of white supremacists in this country today and the KKK and Jim Crow legislation that led to the lynching of hundreds of African Americans. I mean, we are talking about the most dangerous rhetoric in the 20th century, and Donald Trump has brought it to the 21st century.
Interestingly enough, Alan, I'm glad you made that post. My daughters, Tracy and Kathleen, both pulled my coat and told me I should subscribe to a Substack that's written by Heather Cox Richardson, another historian, educator like yourself. And she's been posting a number of aggregate stuff from other things. I'm going to quote some of the stuff that she wrote, I think back on the 20th of November. And what she was saying, one of the quotes that she actually came up with was the fact that one of the individuals that was supposedly being noised about to be in the upcoming Trump administration, should he become successful in regaining the presidency, is somebody by the name of Mike Davis, one of the men under consideration for Attorney General. And he has, on a podcast, told the host in September that he would, quote, unleash hell on Washington, D.C., getting rid of career politicians, indicting President Joe Biden, quote, and every other scumball, sleazeball Biden, end quote, and helping to pardon those found guilty of crimes associated with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Quote, we're gonna deport a lot of people, 10 million and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents, Davis said. Quote, we're gonna put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. We're going to detain a lot of people in the DC gulag and Gitmo, end quote. So those are the type of people that we are basically may end up having to deal with in a upcoming Trump administration, should he be successful. Now, this kind of rhetoric that he is spewing, these people are taking it literally and coming out with it just as powerfully, if not more so.
It's the basic them mentality. It's,
Well-
you know, it's we're going to protect ourselves, but we're going to go after them. But go ahead, Raymond.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to what Alan was saying about how Hitler started, let's take a look at that for a second. It started with him running for office. Then the hate speech started. Then the blame for all of the country's ills started. And then the ghettos started. And then after the ghettos, the concentration camps. And after the concentration camps, the death camps. Now, we've done our form of concentration camps in this country before. This is not a new idea. We took the Native Americans, we put them on reservations. During the Second World War, we actually put American Japanese people in, I don't know what else to call them, but internment camps. So there's a history there. And it's being repeated now with the Trump followers, and nobody sees this. Well, of course, the Trump people aren't allowed to read history, so, but
people see it.
Same thing is happening.
People see it. The problem is he's got a MAGA core that loves what he's doing. There was a piece in the Washington Post that I also saw where former Trump aides were interviewed by this Washington Post reporter, who actually I should call up and give credit where credit's due, but they quoted people like John Kelly, his former chief of staff, and a bunch of other people who have come out. And Kelly's quote, I remember, he said, look, we have warned people now. We've come out and told people what this guy is, how dangerous he is. And every time we do that, it doesn't seem to move the needle. It just seems to make him stronger. People just seem to, his core people just cannot understand how dangerous he is for this country. This is basically what these aides are saying. This man is dangerous for the country, should not be anywhere near the White House. But every time we try to warn people, his stock amongst his core following goes up. And so we've got a problem. But here's my thing. For me, we've said this before on Media Watch, Alan, we've asked you to parse some of this stuff historically. The Republican Party has been going down this road for 60 years. They started with Dick Nixon way back when. They went from Dick Nixon to Ronald Reagan with his, I'm going to announce my candidacy in Kenosha, whatever, not Kenosha, whatever that,
Not Kenosha.
What was that county in Mississippi? I forget where it was, where the hard right-wing folks were. That's where he announced his candidacy. And then, was it Lee Atwater, who was the guy who ran George H.W. Bush campaign that came up with the Willie Horton stuff? These people have been tracking this divide and conquer, race hate, white supremacy. We know who we want to appeal to is these white, angry, white male, middle class, working class. They've been doing this for 60 years. Donald Trump came down the escalator and said, no more dog whistle. Now, we thought it was bad in 2016 when he came down the escalator. Alan, what you've just documented is he's just upped the ante and tenfold.
I mean, for the people who don't remember the Willie Horton ad, it was the face of a black man, a black convict, convicted of murder. And what was it? A revolving door gate in front of a prison. And basically telling the nation that this is what you're going to get if you vote Democrat. Going to have this guy loose, black face. And it resonated. Devastatingly racist dad, but it did its trick.
George H.W. Bush elected, yes.
One of the things that's very scary about Trump is the total disregard for the Constitution of the United States. I mean, that's what we're no longer talking about a government based on law, but we're talking about a government based on whim of essentially an irrational person. So one of the proposals he's made was to cancel the citizenship of native-born citizens of the United States, citizens under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, if their parents were undocumented. Now, illegally, he can't do that, but he doesn't follow law. He wants to build these concentration camps to warehouse undocumented immigrants while they await deportation. Now, Congress may not be willing to authorize the funds. So Trump announced he's going to reallocate money from the military budget.
Yeah.
Which is what he tried to do with the wall when he was in office.
Oh.
So that was the precursor for this.
Now, he wants to ban applicants to the United States who want entry from Muslim majority countries. He's going to refuse applications claiming they have infectious diseases without any evidence. You're not allowed to use troops as police force within the United States. So Trump said what he's going to do is going to announce the United States is at war with criminal cartels and drug gangs.
Yeah, right.
And therefore, he's going to deploy federal troops in violation of the law. I mean,
so we know this guy has no respect for the Constitution.
Mhm.
We understand that his authoritarian tendencies, which is what most of these other people who are talking about the clear and present danger, because we're not the only ones that are actually trying to ring this bell about this man being a clear and present danger to the democracy, the attempted democracy that we've been trying to put together for the last 200 plus years. It's not a democracy yet, but we got electoral college,
experiment,
all kinds of crazy, but at least we're trying to get there. But he's trying to undermine that attempt. And so because of the fact that he, when he was in office, was able to appoint so many federal judges, thanks to Mitch McConnell, the current judiciary is like a toss-up for when a lot of these cases end up getting to wherever they end up getting to, whatever court that ends up getting jurisdiction. The case in point, this new ruling on an Arkansas case where they claim that private citizens don't have a right to sue about voting rights discrimination. They just said, no, you don't have a right, even though that's all these other suits have been filed that way by activist organizations trying to protect voting rights. Trump appointed judge just said, oh yeah, I don't like that. So yeah, let's make that a different kind of way of interpretation. This is part of the legacy of the destruction of our democracy that this guy has layered upon us just by his first 4 years. Now, the 14th Amendment that you just quoted, Alan, there have been challenges to his candidacy. I sent you guys that email about the Colorado judge. Somebody talked to me about that Colorado judge, where the judge found Trump guilty of insurrection. She, note by note, point by point, and came down with a ruling that yes, he was guilty of insurrection. But no, we can't bar him from the ballot in Colorado because what did she say? He's not an officer. It doesn't.
Not an
It doesn't
officer of
apply
the United
of the
States.
United States because
Yeah.
he's president. He's not an officer. So somebody quote me what she said if you can find that ruling, because it's just perplexing. I know Lawrence Tribe, you know, the constitutional scholar, Harvard professor who actually teaches constitutional law and has taught people like Barack Obama and some other noted constitutional law, legal scholars in the country. The PBS anchor asked him, well, how isn't this a rather strange ruling? He could be guilty of insurrection and then the clause can't apply to him. And Lawrence Tribe said, perplexing to me. I think it was perplexing to the judge when she tried to explain it. Because
Well, I have her quote, if you one of her quotes anyhow, and I think this is the one you're referring to. And that was Judge Sarah B. Wallace. And I quote, "For whatever reason, the drafters of Section 3 did not intend to include a person who had only taken the presidential oath." I have no idea what that means. Don't ask me to explain it.
drafters,
I have the 14th Amendment.
you're the historical
passage.
expert. Tell us about
It says, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States, to support the Constitution.
Yeah, her quote makes absolutely no difference. It makes no sense.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what it means.
how does that quote exclude the president? He was elected to an office in the United States of America as president of the United States, correct?
Yes.
I'm at a complete loss to get my brain around her interpretation. Alan, you know, he just explained it, or any officer, and she's questioning whether he's an officer. And high school political science students are, you know, you don't have to be that smart to.
Wait, guys! Don't they say that the president, the office of the president, is the highest office
In the land, yes.
So if he's in the highest office in the land, does that not make him the highest officer in the land?
Wait a minute.
Also
That's why,
commander-in-chief.
that's why this quote makes no
Yes.
difference, because she says, and again, I quote, Section 3 did not intend to include a person who had only taken the presidential oath. He's not only taken it, he's been president.
Yeah, no, but here's the point. He is the president. That's one of the offices in the government. There is an office of president, an office
No
of
matter how you cut it, he's an officer. He is definitely an officer.
This
Or
is
has
the
been. I don't
problem.
know, you
What's
know.
the
We're
problem?
reading the 14th Amendment, in which she's saying, well, that's not what they meant. Well, that's what it says. So we can
Yeah,
only
okay.
go based on what it says.
Okay, listen, Lawrence Tribe said, and I'm quoting Lawrence Tribe now, I kind of think the Colorado Supreme Court might overturn that ruling. Because
I hope they
he
do.
doesn't think that they're going to agree with her. But who knows? You
I
know,
can't imagine. they do.
she's not a Trump appointee, so we can't blame Trump for that particular.
And she's not a constitutional lawyer either.
No, she's just a state judge, not a constitutional scholar. But anyway, I don't know how much time we have left, but
We're doing well. We have a good 8 minutes.
there are any number of issues that this guy is now responsible for that we can start doing a litany of, like the January 6th insurrectionists. He has come out on record and saying he plans to pardon all those people. Okay? So how does that equate with upholding the laws of the land? Explain that to me.
I can't.
And Eric, we had a conversation before we went on air. The Republican Party had a moment after January 6th to discard this guy. Even Mitch McConnell said it was an egregious, event, and the Republican Party decided not to. They decided to stick with him and to just let his rhetoric roll, even as the nastiness continued. So they missed their moment, and here we are.
To that point, Bob, I just heard earlier today, we're taping on a Tuesday, that the current the elected, appointed caucus Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, himself made a pilgrimage to Florida to fully endorse his endorsement of Donald Trump, because he came out and actually said, Donald Trump, I support for the presidency of the United States. So the House Speaker, who actually voted against ratifying Joe Biden's election, which makes him an insurrectionist supporter, has now picked the insurrectionist guy to support for president, and then made a trip just like the previous speaker who got bounced to Florida to kiss his ring. That tells me this, quote, attempt at a democracy is just as shaky as it was when Kevin McCarthy was Speaker of the House. You guys, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, again, one of the issues, and this is what's so weird, and this is why Bob's point is so important. In 2015, Michael Johnson, who has now endorsed Trump, he actually posted a lengthy post on Facebook where he said, the thing about Donald Trump is that he lacks the character and moral center we desperately need again in the White House. I'm afraid he would break more things than he fixes. He is a hothead by nature, and that is a dangerous trait to have in a commander-in-chief. Johnson said that in 2015. Trump has proven that Johnson was accurate in his assessment, and now Johnson is kissing his butt.
Yeah, well, everybody's got their price.
Hey, Lindsey Graham said similar stuff about Donald Trump in 2015. Lindsey Graham went down, kissed his ass, goes to play golf with him, probably came out and support. I don't know if he's supported him for this new round yet, but I'm not holding my breath that he won't. So
that's why Bob's point is so important.
The Republican Party, and I believe Jonathan Karl, I have not read his book. It just came out. He's making the rounds about this new book. He thought the last book he wrote about Trump going down in flames was going to be the last book. And this guy just resurrected from those flames. And now he's got a new book out called something like Tired of Winning or something to the effect. But it's basically, he's dissecting the effect that Donald Trump has had on the GOP, that everything he touches, they lose. They go down in flames. He's like a pariah, he's the kiss of death, but they're still flocking to his banner. Yeah. And he can't figure out why either. But he's written a book to document how badly they have lost. That's what I've seen when I've seen him making the rounds on the talk shows and on the late-night shows. And he was even on a PBS broadcast talking about his new book on this guy.
It'll be banned in all of the red states.
Maybe. You never know. But the point of the matter is, what John Kelly said, no matter how hard you try to get the truth out about how dangerous this man is, not just for the Republican Party, but for the country as a whole, it doesn't make a dent in his MAGA followers, and his stock seems to keep rising. That bodes badly for this attempt at democracy. tag, whatever we need to tag with, we should be out of time.
Yeah,
were gonna
we have
say
about
something.
2.5 minutes yet. Do you want to touch upon the other subject?
How about the AI, real quick? Like, I mean, we're going to shy away from the Mideast just because things are in such a state of flux. We don't know what's going on with hostage negotiations. Maybe there's a ceasefire, maybe there's not a ceasefire, maybe there's a stop and shooting, but they don't want to call it a ceasefire. The craziness that's going on over there. We're going to shy away from it for now and let some of that dust settle. But the AI blow up real quick, Bob.
Well, I mean, basically, OpenAI is the company that brought us ChatGPT, the algorithm that can take a logical question and give you a logical answer in full form, in full paragraphs, full sentences. And now they have a voice assistance to it. You can talk to it now. But on Friday, and that company had been just rolling along the darling of Silicon Valley until Friday, when the founder got fired. Sam Altman got fired. One of his co-founders quit with him, and basically the entire company is now in flux. We have 500 of the 700 employees signing a petition that they're going to quit if Altman doesn't come back. Microsoft has hired Altman, but he might not stay. He might run his own company. AI is what drives a lot of things today. It's driving people, the way we hire people, and it's sort of blowing up, and it's literally blowing up in our faces. So we need to just keep a look at that as it evolves.
I think the existential battle that caused the implosion is the fact that somebody there says, you're moving too fast. This thing might eat us alive. And somebody said, no, we got to move as fast as we can so we can make money. I think that's
exactly. That was the argument that Altman and the company weren't putting up enough guardrails. Go ahead, Ray. What were you going to say?
No, I was agreeing with Eric. It's all about the Benjamins, man.
Yes.
I don't know. I listen. I saw the Terminator, so you know where I stand.
Yes, and we all saw what Hal did in 2001: Space Odyssey. But we have about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think we need to worry about the implosion at that company, and I think we need to worry about what's coming down the pipe from AI. And that being said, I think we're about out of time. This has been Media Watch, folks. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony. Catch up to us on YouTube at Media Watch EVT.
I'm Raymond Peterson.
And I'm their friend and guest, Alan Singer. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks for joining us, Alan. You guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Viewers, I hope when you see this, you all have had a great Thanksgiving. And stay safe. We'll catch you the next time.